So you need to create a photography portfolio but have no idea where to start. Well, stay tuned because boy do I have a video for you. Before you run to your computer and get out your hard drive and open up Squarespace or Wix and start uploading a load of shit, we need to ask ourselves some questions. So the first question we're going to ask ourselves has two parts. Part one is, what is our niche? Meaning, what do I actually shoot? Am I a wedding photographer? Am I a portrait photographer? Food, drink, landscapes, on and on and on. Try and figure out what it is that you actually shoot, what you shoot the most of. And that is what your portfolio should showcase. Now, in an ideal world, we would have one niche. So you would be a drinks photographer, a wedding photographer, a portrait photographer. But you know, there's a recession coming up and not everyone is at the stage in their career yet where they can only shoot one thing and actually eat food and pay rent. So if that's the case for you, you need to think about what other niches are adjacent to the main niche that I shoot. So for example, if you are a wedding photographer, you may also shoot events and family portraiture. And there's a common theme with these styles of photography. Weddings are shot in natural light, as are usually events and family portraiture. They feature real people, not models. It's the kind of photography where you need to be quick on your feet. And you need to work well with clients and speak to people and put people at ease. There's a thread that runs throughout this style of photography. Similarly, if you are a food photographer, you may also have drinks in your portfolio and you may also have product, because essentially all of these three areas are still life and probably use studio flash. So if you do have more than one niche, try to keep them within the same world. If you are a wedding and a food photographer, for example, that's not going to work. They don't marry together. And the reason is, if someone's coming to your website looking for a wedding photographer and they see that, yes, you do wonderful weddings, but you also have all this still life food, they're going to be confused. They're like, who is this woman that loves shooting weddings and also loves shooting close-up shots of burgers? It doesn't make any sense. And likewise, a commercial client or a brand coming to you for food photography is going to be put off by the weddings. They're going to think, this person doesn't make enough money as a commercial photographer and has to do weddings on the weekends to make rent on the studio. It's not a good look. Now you may be thinking, well, this is really unfair. I'm great at landscapes. I'm good at food. I'm good at portraiture. This is so unfair that I have to completely dismiss and jettison half of my work. But the reason for this is, while I may think, wow, what a talented person to do all of this, that's not how most people view things. For example, if I went into Zara, my favorite shop, shout out, and they started selling hardware and like pharmacy stuff, I'd be like, what is this now? Like I knew what I was coming for and now I'm seeing all this other stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just too diffuse. You need to be really clear upfront about who you are as a photographer. Now I said niche had two parts, so the second part is not about what you shoot, it's about how you shoot it. What is your style as a photographer? Do you use a lot of bokeh? Do you use natural light? Do you use colour? Do you use flash? What's your point of view? Do you use a fisheye lens for everything? Whatever it is, there's something that makes you special as a photographer, and that should run throughout the whole website, whether it's food, drink, whatever your niche is, and however many niches you include, they should all feel like they come from the same person and have the same voice. And this is where you become your own editor, because you may have a shot that you think, this is the most beautiful photo I've ever taken. But if it's a natural light shot and all of your other work is studio flash, you can't include it. You just can't. It all has to feel like it lives in the same world, a world of your imagination. So you're going to have to make some brutal edits, but I promise you it will be worthwhile. So we know what we shoot, we know how we shoot it. So the next thing is we're going to start to build this portfolio. But before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about how people have literally no attention span anymore and why this is important to know. So back in the day, if you had a portfolio, you would go up to the New York Times or wherever with your little portfolio, sit down with an art director and flick through the pages talking about it. But that's not how it works anymore. Now you send a website and you hope and pray that person opens it. And if they do open it, they'll be looking at it for 5 seconds tops. 5 seconds. What's wrong with these people? So you have to make an impact immediately. You have to tell whoever is looking at your website, your portfolio, within 5 seconds, this is who I am, this is what I shoot, like it or not. Many moons ago, I used to work in musical theatre. I promise this is relevant. And there were times in certain auditions where there would just be like thousands of women auditioning. And so they'd say to us, okay, you've got 8 bars. You're allowed to sing for 8 bars. And this is probably about 20, 30 seconds of music. And so instead of going in and sort of creating a character and building a world and starting soft and going through a story, there was no time for that. So all the women did was come in, stand in the middle of the room and scream as loud as they could. They would hit the absolute crescendo of that song, even if it made absolutely no sense. It was about, I've got 5 seconds to show these people that I can sing. And you need to have that same approach to building a portfolio. The second that page loads, that's what they're seeing. They're there for 5 seconds and they're gone. We've done a lot of talking here, so I'm actually going to take you over to my website, which is by no means perfect, but this is a general guide to show you what it looks like when you open my website. So here we are on my portfolio, and you can see the first thing that you see when you open is not a load of boxes that say food, product, whatever. You just see photos. And the photos that you see are my style to a T. You can see it's really colourful. You can see that it features people and products. You can see that there's text featured in a lot of my imagery. And there's humour, there's feminism. It all has a theme. But the point is that in those 5 seconds I talked about, you can see who I am as a photographer. Now you may be intrigued and want to know more, or you may say, you know, this isn't for me. But either way, it's clear. So now at the top of the page here, you'll see I have product, food and drink, people, about, and projects. So while my homepage is a mishmash of all of these things so that they can get a general overview of me, in these pages above, we're going to go into more detail of the kind of things that I shoot. Once we delve deeper into our portfolio, so we're now in like our product page, which only features product photography. Within that, there should be 2 types of photography. One that I call basic bitch photography, essentially. And the second is what I love to shoot. So I'm going to break these down to explain what they are and why you need a mix of the 2. Basic bitch photography, I definitely need a better name. I'm going to work on that. Are photos that are not that original. They're photos that a lot of photographers have in their portfolio. And the reason that you're shooting them is because you need to show clients and customers you can get these basic shots that they need. So for an example, let's look at this shot on my product page. It's a bottle of moisturizer in water. You've seen this photo thousands of times on Instagram. It is not original. I've tried to do it in my style in that the colors are very saturated, which is sort of how I work. But really, for the most part, this is not an unusual photo. I'm not the first person to shoot it. I won't be the last. But what it does do is it shows to a client, I can get these pumpkin spice latte white girl shots that you need for your social media. People need to know that you can do the basics. It also shows a client that you know what's current in photography. If you have a lot of product shots that are sort of lit like they're in the 1980s, they're going to be like, where has this girl been for the past 30, 40 years? You need to look around. What's trending? What do people want to use? What do brands want to use in their product photography? And replicate a few of those. They need to feel confident that you can make these basic shots and you can keep things on trend for them as a brand. That's what's going to keep them coming back to you. So the next section, which is your photography, this is where the reins come off. This is pure you. It's what you want to shoot. So I'll show you an example on my website. I have a picture here of Chinese fortune cookies. And often, you know, they contain a fortune. And the one contained in mine says, you're fucked. This is my sense of humour, right? This is the sort of British, cynical way that I sort of approach life. Now, this isn't going to be used for a brand campaign unless there's some very sour brand out there. But it's like a humorous photo. It's so me. It's colourful, it's graphic, it's funny. Likewise, I have this coffee cup, and on top of the coffee, sprinkled in chocolate, it says, wake up, bitch. Again, it's not something that a brand's going to use, but it tells them everything they need to know about me. I'm sarcastic, I'm sardonic, I love colour, it's feminine in its palette. They're really getting a sense of who I am as a photographer and what I can bring to the table. creatively. Maybe I'm not going to use the B word in a campaign, but they know this photographer's kind of got a sense of humor about her. Like, she's going to have something funny she can bring to this. So we have our basic photos that we know we need. Unfortunately, you know, a can being dropped into a tank of water, those kind of shots, which are not original, but lots of brands love them, so throw them in. And then your own voice, your own photos, the things that you love to shoot that get you excited. And I should just caveat here, when I say these basic shots and I'm sort of saying like, oh, we have to do them, you can still make them your own. Don't just set up some basic shots and shoot them, things that you've seen on Instagram. Put them in your style, put your own spin on them, but make sure you include them. What I've just described to you about my product page holds true for my food and drink and for my people page. It's not really portraiture as such, it's sort of people and models that I've shot in my style. But each page contains the basic shots and the Ruthie shots. Now let's talk about the about page, because this is really important. It's often an afterthought, but there are some key pieces of information that you need to put in here so people can actually find and hire you. So let's take a look at my about page. So there's a picture of me. For that, I can only apologise. But let's see what I say. Hi, I'm Ruthie Darling, a British photographer based in New York City. So number one, this is helpful. They know where I am. You know, if you're in Singapore and you're applying to an agency in New York and they need to come on set, that's going to be an issue down the line. So say where you're based. It's helpful. Some work is remote, but not all. I work out of my photo studio in Dumbo. If you have a photo studio, mention it, because that's really useful for a brand to know about. They can come to you, you have all the equipment. So I have a photo studio. I offer creative concepting and style, some of my own stuff. If this is something you offer, mention it, but you definitely don't need to. And then in the second paragraph, I just talk a little bit about my experience. So I've worked as an in-house photographer at a coffee company, at an advertising agency, and here's what I shoot. I shoot product, e-commerce, food and drink, portraiture. I'm always full of ideas and love going to work each day, even though my studio is in a 4th floor walk-up, LOL. I'm excited to talk to you about your next project. It's really short, but it tells them where I am, what I shoot, and a little about my background. And that is all you need. Don't go overboard, keep it simple. Oh, and I don't know how I could have forgotten this. The most important part of all, there must be a way to contact you. So many websites I go on and there's like no phone number. Include your phone number and include your email. You can have a contact form too if you want, but please, for the love of God, let there be a way for them to pick up the phone and say, hi, I want to hire you, you're fabulous. Now the final page on my website, and arguably the most important, is my projects page. It doesn't need to necessarily be called projects. I think that's the best title for what it is, but you could call it extra work, test shoots, blog, whatever you like. But within that page are shoots that you have created, and ideally a photo series that you've created. And we'll talk about why that's important. This section could just be an area where a load of random shit lives. So maybe you did like a shoot that doesn't fit into any of these categories, but you think it's really cool, throw it in there. You could, I think that's okay. But what a photo series does is that shows a client that you can take one thing and build it into a series of photos that make sense cohesively together as a story. So as an example, if you are working for a deodorant brand and they have, a bottle of deodorant, they're going to need to know that you can take this one item and stretch it into, say, 10 interesting and different photos. By doing photo series of different things and keep working on it and building it, you're showing brands that you have the creativity to take one idea and develop it. So a photo series shows that you can develop an idea or a concept over 10, 20 images, whatever it is. But it also serves another function, and that is to let your creativity run wild. This is so important. Just let go of everything you think about photography, of everything you think about what a brand wants, what a person wants, what a client wants, and just think about what you want. What do you want to shoot? What do you want to say to the world? So I'm going to go into one of my projects to show you what I'm talking about. This one is about the cost of living crisis, and this is a UK focused project. So if you're not in the UK, just to give you a bit of background, we're going through a cost of living crisis. No one can afford to live anymore, and the government are fucking useless. So let's look at some of the photos. So the first one is heat or eat. The choice is yours. And this is a photo of an electric meter, and basically the price of electricity is going up a lot and no one seems to care. And so the press are talking about how people are having to choose between heating or eating. So that's what this photo is. Then mainlining tea as I watch the pound crash, to do with the economy. Seeking guidance anywhere I can, and here you can see there's a tarot card saying, just tell me what to do. So we don't need to go through every photo, but you can see they're all on a theme. And the theme is the political unrest in the UK. And I've just taken that topic and run with it in any direction I've wanted to run. And hopefully you can see that it's fairly impactful. The messaging is clear what I'm trying to say. Not every photo is the same. There's food, there's product, there's people, there's all kinds of things. I'm expressing what's important to me in this photo series. It's telling you about what I think about the world. So if we look at another one, let's look at, but what was she wearing? This was a photo series inspired by, there was a murder in the UK during lockdown of a woman called Sarah Everard. It was a really awful, tragic case, but it got me thinking a lot about women's safety, the police response, and I wanted to create photos around that theme. So the first one here, call me when you get home, tattooed on a woman's wrist. This is what women say to each other all the time because we're afraid to be alone because men attack us. You know, I'm not going to go too feminist on you here, but you know, women are not pieces of meat. Here's a woman drinking misogynist tears. So you can see I've just taken this idea in any direction I wanted to take it to create an impactful series of photos on this theme. Now the two photo series I just showed you are political and feminist, and you don't need to go anywhere near those subjects to create a photo series. It just has to be about something that captures your imagination. One of my photo series is about making British food sexy to Americans. And that started because somebody said something to me, just like an offhand comment about, oh, don't you all eat boiled vegetables in the UK? And I was like, what? British food is so much better than American food, in my opinion. And so I wanted to create a photo series to sort of prove this person wrong. I mean, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it was just an offhand comment that launched that one. And think about like a photographer like Maria Svarabova. I'm sorry, I'm absolutely butchering her name. I'm British, we can't pronounce anything. Her photography is based all around swimming pools. I don't know if she loves to swim or how it started, but all of her photos are these beautiful, desaturated pastel photos of swimmers in swimming pools. And she has an amazing career off that photo series. It's about something you enjoy. Do you love music? Do you love baking? Do you love your local park? I don't know. It can be anything. It can be what's going on in the news or a funny meme that you've seen. Anything can spark an idea if you're a creative, which you are. So start to build out these photo series, because that's what brands are going to look at to see who you are. They know in your portfolio you need to be presentable and professional and show that you can, you know, work a camera, and that is very important. But your point of view, what makes you special, is going to be contained within that project section. So think about it, work on it, and constantly keep adding to it as you develop as a person, as a human being, and as a photographer. I hope this was helpful. My final point is that a portfolio is constantly evolving. Don't feel like, you know, oh my God, I'm going to have to do all this work. Just get a landing page. Start there. Just get that landing page full of photos that tell a person who you are, and then develop it. And then, you know, in a few months, you'll come back to that landing page and be like, I hate all these pictures and I've shot new ones. It's always growing, it's always evolving, just like you are. I think really the first thing you need to do is just take that first step. Get the website, look at your photos, ask yourself the questions, and keep working and keep evolving and keep growing it. This was a long video. I really hope this was helpful. I would love to see some of your portfolios if you would like to share. If you'd like to look at my website, which is by no means perfect, it is linked in the description. And take a look at some other people too. Look at other photographers' portfolios, and if you like them, try and examine why you like them and see what you can replicate. Best of luck to you all, and keep snapping.